Hello and welcome to my first tutorial video. Today I'm going to share with you my process for painting a still life. Here is the still life I'll be working from. I selected objects from around my home with different shapes and colors to create an interesting composition. Let's get started! Every time I begin a new project, I start with a sketch. It helps me figure out whether what I have in mind actually works on paper and whether the composition is visually interesting. It also allows me to identify the darkest and lightest areas in the image. This is important because once you've found your extremes, you know everything else sits somewhere in between. Then it's time to move to the canvas. Step 1 is about blocking the colors. This means filling the white space with the main colors of your composition. I use a big brush to avoid getting caught up in details too early. This phase is about shapes, not precision. I dilute my paint with a good amount of oil, linseed in this case. It makes it easier to apply and it aligns with the general oil painting rule of working from fat, means a lot of oil, to lean, meaning using pure paint. For the background, I chose not to draw in details. Instead, I picked a neutral color that complements the rest of the composition. Step 2 is shadows and highlights. Let's start with the dragon fruit and its radiant pink color. To create the right shadow tones, I use color theory. A color wheel helps you see how colors relate to each other. The one directly opposite your base color is its complementary, and that's what we're interested in here. For pink, the complement is green. So on my palette, I'm mixing permanent carmine red with emerald green. I apply this mix to the shadow areas of the dragon fruit. Since the base layer is still fresh, it blends easily. Sometimes I even apply the complementary color straight from the palette without mixing. Next subject is the lemon. As seen in the wheel, its complementary color is purple. Sorry for my cat, she's always very curious about what Mama's up to. I already have some cadmium yellow lemon on my mixing area. I don't have purple ready, so I mix my cadmium red light with ultramarine blue with the yellow. Just like before, I apply it to the shadow side of the lemon. The tone turned out to be too strong, so instead of putting more paint to correct it, I wiped it off with a tissue. That's an advantage of oil paint. You can always wipe it off and start again. For the highlights, since the paint is still fresh, I simply apply pure titanium white to the lightest part of the objects. Then I move to the stems. Because green is the complementary of the dragon fruit's pink, I can reuse the same mix for the shadows here. I'm not trying to represent every leaf. I'm working with shapes and lines, rather than focusing on fine details. We're painters, not photographers. Step 3 is negative space. What I mean by negative space is the outline of what isn't the subject. Even if we are not conscious about it, its shape is as important as the subject to the human eye. It's also a great tool to subtly add hidden messages to your composition. Here I'm using a slightly lighter tone than the background to make it pop. At this point the paint I'm using has almost no oil in it. It's more stable, which helps me create cleaner and more defined edges. Step 4 is about details. For this step I move to one of my smallest brushes. Here I don't dilute my paints anymore. It's the last layer, so it can be thick. It will even bring a sense of texture that is always so typical of oil painting. For this session, also because I'm working a la prima, I am not focusing so much on tiny details. However, if it is your desire, you can go further. You can even come back to it after a while and add some more details or even change things. You choose yourself when your painting is done. It is really up to you. There is no right nor wrong. I tend to finish my paintings quickly, but this is my personal approach. The only thing to be careful with is overworking. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you liked it and if you're interested in seeing more